Hey there, and welcome to the podcast Tiling Connect, hosted by Mark Moskwa. This show is designed to connect people with the best information intended to strengthen the business of tiling. To keep up to date with all the episodes, don't forget to subscribe.
Tiling Connect is brought to you by Lux's Grates, the leaders in aluminium drainage, which are UV stable, rust proof and customisable on site. Available at your local tile or plumbing shop. G'day everybody, Mark here from Tiling Connect. Welcome to today's episode. Another great day and another fantastic guest on today. I have the honour and privilege of having Morgan Brady on from Pearl Interiors, who I connected in with recently at the home show in Brisbane. Noticed her stand out of the corner of my eye and was compelled to go and have a chat. And she gracefully accepted to come on to the show. So, Morgan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Mark. It's great
cool.
to be here.
Oh, fantastic. Great, yeah. And look, I'm not sure if you've caught any of our past episodes, but we're a big fan, or I'm a big fan of diving straight into the episodes and really giving the stage to our guests, because it's all about, that strengthening the business of tiling. And I know that design plays such an enormous part. But let's start at the beginning. Tell us about you and Pearl Interiors and, give us a look on your background.
Okay, so where to start? I guess at the beginning. My parents, my mum was a fashion designer. My dad is quite the entrepreneur, also building and creating different businesses, selling them. And it initiated us moving around the country a lot, which initiated my mum redesigning a lot of homes. So I was often amongst that growing up, never really considered it as a job or a profession at any stage of my life, really, until much later on. But always really inspired by creating and renovating. We've got renovated homes all through my childhood. And then I moved to New York when I was 19 years old. My mum is American, so I have dual citizenship, which is very amazing.
Yes.
And while I was there, I studied a few different things and landed in a creative agency. So my role there as an agent was to basically connect creatives with the client. So choosing who was best for what job based on their artistic style, preference, flair. I loved that work. It was really exciting. I feel like I was very good at that middle project management, creative space. Yeah. I love organizing. I love working with people. I've never been the artist, or so I thought. So this was a place that I really felt comfortable in, being able to translate the vision through the creatives. So then, fast forward a few years, we find ourselves back in Australia with now a husband and growing family, and we just start renovating, and it just becomes part of our life. And it was an easy thing for me to pick up. I knew the vernacular. I knew what it was like working with trades. I knew the mess. I kind of, maybe it was subconscious or ingrained, but I knew the stages of a renovation. And I always had my mother's language in my mind of how colour works and how shape works, and to expand a room or to create a nook. So that was something that I think came really naturally to me because of my childhood. And then I thought I went and studied and did a bit of education just to kind of polish up. I don't think as an interior designer it's super necessary. I think it's more about having skill. So I kind of polished myself up a little bit. And then with 2 young kids at home, decided to birth Pearl Interiors, my third baby.
Awesome.
And it kind of went gangbusters. It was at a really great time where people were buying, especially on the Sunshine Coast. They were getting in at a really great market. This is about 3 years ago. And looking to put a bit of extra money into enhancing their space and making it more their style and, more their home. So yeah, we've branched off a little bit in terms of our offerings, which is really exciting. We do like a full service, which we love. We get to create with our builders and our teams and our trades and really have this like exponential transformation.
Yeah.
We also have something called Design Concierge, which we get to come in and really liaise with clients, and this definitely falls in the tiling realm. So there's lots of people that will renovate and they're not quite sure how to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, so plumbing, electrical, tiling, all that stuff. And I have a real love for being able to provide a service and to really be able to help people kind of push their limits and not make mistakes. Yeah,
that's cool. Wow.
Here we are. Yeah.
And here you are today. How long were you in? Oh, sorry, I'm going to ask a few questions here because I'm very curious. I love New York. I was there in 2015. It was only for 3 weeks, but it was absolutely bloody amazing experience.
Yeah.
And it was my first solo trip overseas. So no girlfriend, no partner. My girlfriend was back home, and I started in Las Vegas, and that was, a very interesting 4 or 5 days, and then went to New York for 2.5 weeks, just prior to Christmas. So, but an amazing, and this is obviously pre-COVID. I haven't been back since, but incredible place, big city, massive buildings, architecture's incredible. Just the High Line, just everywhere you go, it's just. There's just so much culture, and it's very interesting the boroughs that are there as well. And when you go around to different places, so yeah. So how you were there? Were you there 4 or 5 years?
I was actually there for nearly 13 years.
Oh, okay, wow.
So I consider New York. I die for New York. I consider New York my other home, my other space. All my family still live there, so it's a place that I go back to yearly, once a year.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's awesome. Whereabouts are your family in New York?
So my parents, my mum now lives in Jersey City.
Okay, yep.
So she's got a view of the skyline, which is lovely, but she's bought an RV and travelling around, and my dad's downtown. Yeah. Yeah,
wow. That's very cool. Yeah. Awesome. And look, thanks for sharing your journey. It's amazing. It sounds like it started as it had, and you've literally run with it, and it's become part of your life, and you've created this fantastic business out of it as well, which I'm sure we'll learn more about today through the questions that I'd love to ask and get a bit more of an idea, if not a lot more of an idea, on how design impacts or interior design impacts that tiling space, and particularly around the decisions that contractors do or don't have to make in accordance with what the client wants, and how they adjust and adapt to that as well. So very cool. Well, if it's okay, I have some questions. So I'm going to kick off. Obviously, so you're on the Sunshine Coast, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
we're in New
cool.
South.
Oh, well, one of the best places in Australia.
We did. We landed in heaven. Yeah.
I suppose for me, and for the wider community as well, I'm very curious to hear from your perspective what role design plays in determining, the type and style of tiling used in interior spaces.
Well, yeah, it's a crucial role in designing interior spaces. Depending on the location that's being tiled, you need to think about things like functionality, aesthetic, how large the space is. But tiling has, I think, really kind of evolved into this really playful, so I don't want to say the word thing, playful design aesthetic, where we can play with pattern and the expanse of tile, the access to tile and all different tile is really important. And diverse these days as well. But yeah.
Are you finding that with tiling, particularly, because I've been in building products for 21 years, I'm not sure how much I shared of that with you prior to today, but tiling, when I started in the early 2000s, I reckon there was 5 colours, there was 3 sizes, and that was about it. Like, it was pretty standard. And back in the early 2000s, there was an enormous investor market. So a lot of people weren't particularly fussy about what went in there. And I still remember the days when, you'd have like this 450 by 450 floor tile, you'd have a white wall tile, you'd have this Lestello somewhere from Spain or Italy, and you put that 3/4 of the way up a wall, and bang, your tiling's done.
That's everything
Today,
we're demoing now, Mark. Yeah, absolutely. I see it. We're getting rid of all of it. Yeah.
and today, I reckon there's 1.5 million colours. I don't know how they've done that. There's like 40 billion, different sizes and shapes, thicknesses. It's crazy. It's out of control.
Yeah.
Like
and
I
we
remember.
have access. Oh, sorry.
No. You're right. I was just saying. How do you pick? Like, where do you start and where do you end? Like, how is that process? It must be hard.
Well, first, I like to just understand the client's vision. So, what are they trying to create in that space? What is the mood? What are their style preferences? It's really important for me to know colours that they really don't like, as well as what they are gravitating towards. So thankfully, we have a land of Pinterest. Well, Pinterest is a blessing and a curse, because what you often see isn't what is actual, in practicality and what's possible. But it does give me a really good indication of the client's vision and what they're trying to create, whether they're creating a bathroom and they want it this really open, minimal hammam style spa, or they want it kind of like moody and dark and, dreamy, or, something that's a little eclectic or vintage. We have access to being able to get samples within a week of tiles right now. So many amazing stores in Noosa and the Sunshine Coast we can go to access. We really start with the vision. And then we move into functionality. So there's no point in creating and spending money on something that doesn't work and doesn't function as intended. So from there, we then create options for the client, and then we have a little play with pattern and how we're going to lay the tile, where our focal point is, and budget, obviously, is interwoven between all of that and considered all along the way. Sometimes you fall in love with a tile that might have a long lead time or isn't practical in the budget. I recently came across a small, beautiful Zeliger tile that was gold metallic, hand-painted.
Wow.
I think they were something like $400 a tile, not even a square metre, with a 16-week lead time. So,
Wow.
that's what's possible now. It's amazing.
I can only imagine that you would have to put on some white cotton gloves to actually pick them up. I can't even imagine the conversation with the installer, with the tiler, on how careful you have to be. Don't breathe on them. They literally, it would
it's
be.
like jewellery. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, Bill, that's wow, that's incredible. I had no idea. There you go. So awesome. So I obviously have a few questions today. So I apologise if I'm going to bombard you, but I'm really interested in all this sort of stuff. So I would like to know the overall aesthetic of the room. What I'd like to know is how does that sort of influence the type of tiling chosen in a space? Yeah.
So size influences, colour influences, obviously the desired outcome of the room. So often if we are to create perhaps we have a smaller bathroom that we're tiling, we would use a larger format tile for that to create a very nice, open space, more linear, more minimal, more clean. And if we were to, perhaps that same space, we wanted to highlight tapware or something like that, perhaps the tile would be complementing that in a certain pattern or a certain lay behind that tapware. So, it's really important that we understand the purpose to be able to design correctly using the right tile. Yeah.
I imagine that, and you mentioned just beforehand about the client's, I suppose objectives is probably not the right word. That's a bit professional and a bit formal, but more about the type of environment they're trying to create in a particular particular space that they want to tile, whether that be, and I imagine, and I should have asked this before, while it is Pearl Interiors, I imagine that you're involved in some external alfresco type design as well. Is that Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah.
So I imagine that it's really understanding the clients, how they want it to look.
Yes, absolutely. So it's important that we follow the client's vision, not just what we like. And what I love is to be able to introduce to the client, obviously, tiles that function well in their space, that have a high slip rating like our frescoes, but then also something unique and something a little bit out of the box as well, something that they may not have considered, but kind of it goes and fits with their style.
Yeah, cool.
And even little things, like tiling the back of niches. Often clients just think that there's one tile or two tiles in a bathroom, and we can come up with really nice, clever ways of, highlighting little areas, creating feature walls or focal points throughout the room.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Awesome. So, Morgan, can you give me or explain how the different styles, such as modern and traditional, how they impact the selection of tiling patterns and materials?
Yeah, so modern and traditional is very popular. Everybody loves that look because it's classic. It really isn't in 5 years. You're not going to want to redo it, which is really nice. So the way that we would use a tile in that style, we would use traditional patterns. So herringbone, chevron, laying in a subway style pattern would give us that effect of a really timeless, classic feel in the room and a style. And then we would mix that perhaps with like a marble or something really crisp, perhaps a lighter grey or blues or greens, something that kind of complements that traditional colour palette. But marble's a lovely one. And, as you know now, Mark, there's so many imitation marbles as well. But yeah, there's some, I think a traditional modern, that's kind of the way we go. And then perhaps some larger format tiles on the ground to keep it really clean and modern as well.
Yeah, nice. I like that. I have found in the past sort of 12 months, and it may be longer because it's been a long time since I've been involved in selling product like tiles and stone and that sort of thing. But I'm a big fan of natural stone. I think, when you've got a product that's cut direct from the earth and it's just shaped the way that it is and then cut to the pieces and then when it's installed correctly or appropriately, it just looks stunning. There are some in there. There appears to be an emergence of some players in the stone space from down south coming up to Queensland. I noticed there was a couple of new places in Fortitude Valley that have opened up in the city recently. I think Artisan was one of them. And then the Artisan Exteriors, I think, is the name of the business. Big shout out to them. Don't know who you are, but cool. And there's another one as well that I called in on recently, which is... so the obviously stone, are you finding, do you see that in your work as well, that stone is making, I wouldn't say a comeback, but is it more popular for people to look at it today than what it has been before?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I definitely think that there's an accessibility to engineered stone that people feel more comfortable with. They can walk into, an office and be able to select it then and there. Where when you go to stone yards, it's unfamiliar for people. I have to say, it's one of my favourite places to visit. Fanning through big blocks of stone is like, I could live there. It's amazing. I always film my visits. I just love it. It is, Mother Nature is the best designer, and I have a dear place in my heart for natural stone, and will push it with every client that I can to try and maneuver it in their budget. And I think there's also a misconception that it's very high-end and inaccessible, where the reality is that, different slabs are all priced differently and they can be cut down and, and used in the right ways, in the right homes for the right budget. So,
nice. Awesome. Love it. Another stone enthusiast. Excellent.
Massively. We just cladded a vanity in stone, and it's just the pièce de résistance in this beautiful ensuite. So,
oh, wow. Very cool.
Yeah,
very
some cool stuff.
If you're in a position to share that with us later, great, love to. If you can't, I understand as well. But that would be very cool to see.
Cool.
What would you say are some of the biggest factors that should be considered when choosing the right tiling for a specific interior space? I know you've touched on a few things already, but are there other things that are really important in that selection process?
Yeah, look, I think first you need to know your budget.
Yeah.
There's no point in going shopping and you're looking in an area that's just not in your budget. I think it's really important also for the client to be educated on the material of the stone, so ceramic versus porcelain versus travertine or concrete, and understanding the function of each of those materials that they're selecting, as well as basically the slip rating. We need to make sure that you're not choosing some gorgeous Zeliger tile that you might see on Pinterest on a floor in a bathroom, but in reality, it's quite dangerous. They might do that in Morocco, but it's not really done here in Australia. So I think, starting from budget, function, and then because we do have access to such a wide variety, starting to then nail down the colour and then go into pattern as well from there. And I think people should not be scared of having fun with tile. I think tiles are a really wonderful creative element of interior design and can, make it feel really happy and alive in whatever space you're using it.
Yeah, look, I love that because I think it's really important that the customer is able to, or the client, I should say, customer. I'm in retail land at the moment, sorry. So when the client is looking at, selecting tiles, whatever the physical aspects of the tile are, or size or colour, or the aesthetics and that sort of thing, I think it's important for them to have all of the information. Not only from, a design perspective, but also from a practicality perspective and what tiles can and can't do in a particular space. I remember when I was working in retail showrooms early in the 2000s, and a lot of the time customers would choose an external type finish tile for an internal area. And I know I'm getting a little bit off topic here, but there's a little bit of relevance. And people would fail to tell the customer that, whilst that appears to be a good idea because there's an implied protection from slipping over, you can't clean it. So going and putting like I think it's a P5, or putting something incredibly rough in a wet area, and then getting a phone call 3 weeks after the install's done going, how do you clean these tiles? I'm like, get a gurney, high pressure hose. So,
in your bathroom.
In your bathroom. But in saying that, in some situations you can actually do that depending upon the house and where it's located, and if it's in Noosa and it's on the beach, it may not be as much of a hassle. But if you're in a metropolitan city somewhere, in a high-rise apartment building, might not be the right place.
Absolutely. And I think this is why this is this tricky space, I think, at the moment for the client, because they're relying on their tradesperson to give them all this information. And that's not their job. Their job is to lay a tile and to lay it straight and exactly as the client's requested, not to educate them on sourcing the right tile or designing their bathroom. Same with in the retail space. You are selling what you have in stock, but it's not necessarily that salesperson's job to educate the clients. They have they're definitely good at leading to the right tile and things like that. But in terms of all the different materials and what's best suited for their budget and their vision, it's going to be very hard for that salesperson in that 20, 30-minute consultation to be able to access and give them all that information. So I highly encourage anybody that's renovating to seek out, through many interior design firms, just our consults, just have quick chats with people with different interior design firms to be able to educate themselves on the right product. So then when they go into the store, when they're telling their tiler what to lay, they can speak a bit of the language. They're not going in completely lost. And I think it's such a big component of renovating and redesign. that it's worthy of a very small, kind of really insignificant investment in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a incredibly important point that you raise, that there are a lot of independent stores out there that, they're all trying to do the right thing. They may not necessarily have all of the experience in being able to connect the colour and size and shape with the room that the customer or client is looking at. So, I appreciate that. It's, small investment for a massive return as far as I'm concerned, speaking, getting that sort of advice. So appreciate the shout out. So, we've obviously already touched on size and layout, but obviously, are there other things with size and layouts of room that impact tile choice?
Other things with size and layout of tile. Budget impacts tile choice. Lead times impact tile choice. I think focal points and the feel, not just the look, but how you want the room to feel, impacts tile choice.
When you say feel, what are you talking about? Mood?
Yeah, I'm talking about, colour, not just the size of the tile and the way you lay it, but the colour, whether it's got warm undertones, you're going to feel a lot more like cozier, or cooler undertones, can feel a little bit more sterile. Brighter colours are really great. We just did an entire bathroom in bright blue tiles, and paired with little gold trim, and the gold trim just picked it up. It was beautiful. Everyone, they think you're a little crazy when you tile a whole room and they think it's going to be a swimming pool. It's not. It's beautiful. And we paired it with some warmer woods and some beautiful rich golds, and it's gorgeous. So I think, creating a vibrancy or creating a really relaxed, gentle, soft mood. Children's bathrooms, have a lot of fun. Powder rooms, definitely different vibe. It's not just about size of tile and pattern. I think you can get really creative in small spaces. And I think that's a chance to have fun with how you're going to lay the tile and what tiles you're going to use. Yeah,
interesting. I remember from earlier in my days in selling tiles that we used to do a bit of research around what the average time frame was for a customer or a client to redo, was it redo? No, it was tile purchases. So it was over the lifetime. So we would crunch some data over a period of time on literally how many times, what was the average a person would buy tiles? And we worked it out. There was about 18 months was the average time back in the early 2000s from the time a customer first entered the business to buy tiles to then coming back again to reselect tiles and a little bit later. And obviously back in the early 2000s, there was we had, we don't have anymore, but we had a massive investment market, particularly in Queensland. I'd moved away for a while and lived in Melbourne for 10 years, but have recently come back. And that's when I first started, and we found that, there was just this massive trend of people coming in every 18 months buying tiles because they were regularly buying investment property, so there was always work to be done, and that was the trend that we had happening at that time. Do you find with the clientele that you have that there's a pattern of how often they're coming and buying and doing tile work, or is it just
Really depends on the client. I work with all clients have different goals and whatever their projects they're working on. So I do work with clients who have investment properties, and so they're turning it over a lot more, and so that's lots more regular contact. I would say maybe every 8 months to a year we'll reconnect on another project. And then a lot of people, family homes, do it in piecemeal. So they might focus on their kitchen, and we're selecting a tile for their kitchen, and then they're going to do one bathroom at a time so that the family can live in the house during the renovation, which is very economical and smart and it's less disruptive. And so, in that instance, it's probably about, every 4 to 5 months we're revisiting the project.
Cool.
I do like to, if I'm putting together a schedule, I like to know everything beforehand and have the client pick and choose and sign off beforehand. I hate for my clients to miss out on long lead times or out of stock options. We hate to split batches. So as you know, you might order a tile today for bathroom A and you want that same tile for bathroom B, but you're not quite ready to demo and start that project. Well, when you get that tile for bathroom B, it might be slightly different color. And I hear a lot of really unfortunate horror stories of people that have ordered too little and then they go to reorder even, a few weeks later and it's slightly smaller or it's different tone or different shade. And, these are factory made tiles and, nothing is that perfect either, unfortunately.
Yeah. Exactly. A brief word from our sponsor. Are you looking for a water drainage solution that serves its purpose and adds a touch of elegance to your space? Lux's Grates are here to revolutionise your indoor and outdoor applications. Whether it's a shower, bathroom, balcony, pool, or any other area, Lux's Grates is the ideal choice. It's quick and easy installation that you can bang out in just over an hour. Their standard grates offer a classic and timeless look, while the next generation style adds a modern twist to your space. Lux's grates are made of high quality anodised aluminium, ensuring durability and longevity. Another amazing point that you raise, and I mentioned this in my social post only about a week ago about ensuring that you have enough tiles for your project. It's so important, and I think the industry standard when I was selling tiles was around 10%. I think in some cases it can be as high as 15% extra.
Definitely.
To ensure that. Yeah, sorry, you go.
Yeah, sorry, pardon me, Mark. I was just going to add to that. Like it also depends on the tile. Right now, Zeliga Moroccan tiles are having a big moment. They're really unique, really a bit of a wow factor, high shine, nice polish gloss to them. And often we will get those delivered and, sometimes it can be up to a quarter of a box that is just cracked because they are so fragile and they're so crumbly. So in instances like that, you don't want to have half a job laid and, as you know, handmade, very very unique shapes, each one. Tilers aren't the biggest fan of laying them, but the designers do love them.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Super cool. Very good. Can you share with us what are some of the more popular trends? I know we've touched on a few things already today, but what are some of the more popular trends in interior design and how they're sort of, enhancing particular spaces? What's happening out there in the industry at the moment?
Yeah, well, tiling related is actually really cool. I haven't seen any firms bring it to Australia yet, but I'm seeing a lot of ceilings tiled over in the States. And I have to say it's really quite a unique wow factor. You can keep a classic kitchen and then, pop it with a really beautiful high gloss tile. So I think it's quite practical as well as, I don't know if you've ever had a blender mishap, but it makes its way to the ceiling.
Yeah.
So I think it's practical, but it's also really, really beautiful and unique and quite a really cool wow factor. I see people tiling behind bed heads, which I think is really interesting. Yeah, I haven't. We're moving into this space of this very kind of Tulum-y, Moroccan-y beach coastal vibe, and I think it's picking up from there. So like I've seen beautiful maroon gloss tiles framed as the bed head, which is, cool. I'm glad people are doing unique things. It's hard to be original anymore, so and anybody that's experimenting is fun. I see lots in coffee tables, different countertops being tiled. What else? Internal niches are always fun to tiles. I mentioned that earlier. Yeah. Accent walls. Best place to have fun with a tile, I think, is around a fireplace if you're lucky enough. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's very cool. Yeah, but awesome.
Yeah. I think with the accessibility of tiles all around the world, people are really looking at it as a very core design element now, not just this, 300 by 300, slap it on the ground, terracotta version that we are ripping up.
Yes. Yeah, well, more often today probably than ever before.
Yes.
I think casting my mind back to when I started in the industry, I think the average home had a tiled area in the home itself. Was average age was probably about 15, 20-year-old before they decided it was time to rip it out and start again and put something fresh and new in. And I imagine that today that time frame is probably shortened, but also depending upon people's budgets and what's going on in the outside world for them. But definitely, I'm certain that with all of the different design options and the different colours and things from around the world, that time frame is probably shortened considerably.
Absolutely. Tiles are pretty durable. Like you said, they last 15 to 20 years. Like it's not often that I'll go into a client's home and see cracked tiles. That's not really what happens. It's usually the grout that gets moldy or they want a fresh look. And I think you're right. With the accessibility of everything, people are moving into, a new home and the bathroom's fine. Maybe it's just a few years old, but they want to have fun and they want to put their mark on it and they want to design it to their style. And they can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, plenty of options. Morgan, do you have to, I should have asked this ages ago actually, but part of the process that you're involved in with the design piece, is there a lot of communication with the tile installer or the professional tiler in terms of an end-to-end solution? Is that part of what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're doing full service with our clients, we are communicating with the tiler from the get-go. We need to make sure that the substrate and the floor is absolutely straight and spick and span, and who's responsible for that. Different jobs, there are different trades that take that on, as well as the waterproofing. But that's really just, the base, getting the base right so that the rest of the project can go really well. But we talk about the focal point. So even if you're laying a 600 by 600 tile, you're not going to just start at one end and run your way through across it. It shouldn't really work like that. The main tile in the center of the room should be the focal point, and everything out from there should flow. So we get really detailed with our tiler, and we're there usually before tiling starts to lay them out before any gluing begins, to make sure that it's exactly as we plan to execute it.
Yeah, cool. And the clients that you deal with, whether they be existing or new, is it part of their remit to find and locate the tiler, or is that something that you're able to assist with as well?
Yeah, we love working with our trades. So we love to be able to give a client a good, reliable trade. I think it's really important. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Sorry, something I thought of before, and I'm like, it's in the back of my mind. I should ask.
Yeah.
It may never have come up otherwise. So, moving along, talking about tiling choice.
Yeah.
How does that impact the functionality and the practicality of a room?
Well, the slip rating of the tile choice needs to be correct. It needs to prevent accidents and have any issues in the future. The components of tiling choice are colour, shape, budget, basically. So, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm trying to think of,
No. I know that we've touched on a few of these things before, and it's really interesting. There's so much about tiling, but when you talk about the functionality and practicality and room sizes and that, it's not as wide as it appears to be. I remember this because when I was trained, by other people in the industry when I first started selling tiles, and we talked about, and please excuse me if I get this wrong, but we talked about the height of a room versus the width of the room versus the size of the room, and then we talk about natural light versus not natural light, and then we go into things like, well, if you've got then you've got north, south, east, west. So then you've got to look at all of those different parameters with regards to a tile. So if you've got, say, a room that's 3 metres by 3 metres with very little natural light, it's probably not going to be a good idea to put a dark coloured tile in there that's particularly small, because it's just going to make
it's a powder room and you want it to feel really cool and dark and sexy, and you hang a cool piece of art and have a really nice wall sconce that gives you a vibe that's like, this is a nice, fun place to hang out. Yeah.
Exactly. See, designer, not designer. I learned on the fly. I love it. That's great.
But it's great. You can have those impacts. You can make it unexpected, and to walk into a powder room or a seemingly small bathroom and be like, whoa, this is cool. Like, absolutely lighting impacts the choice.
Yeah.
And mood and direction and placement in the home. You're not going to put that bathroom next to the kid's bedroom. It's not going to Jack and Jill in between them. But it might be really cool for the granny flat or a bungalow or a powder room under the stairs. So, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. Yeah. Tell me about, what are some innovative ways to incorporate tiling designs into interior spaces beyond just floor and walls? I know you've mentioned ceiling before, so can we touch back on that again? Because I remember when I was, again, I keep going back to when I sold tiles, but that's where all my experience was. We the only time that we ever did interior tiling and ceilings was in saunas. Or bathhouses or things like that. And trust me, I was working down at Springwood in Brisbane, and there weren't many of those. So, or in that area, not to beat up the area, it was just not built for it. But you would occasionally get, I think back there was like an area of either Sunnybank or Runcorn somewhere. There was like Millionaires Row, where I think at one point the director of Amway or some other Bartercard or something used to live there. I think a few houses there had that sort of functionality in it. But talk me through. Are there any other areas that I'm missing that, apart from ceilings, that where tiles could lift a room or could be used in it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, stair risers are another really nice way of adding really cool tiles. I know people do it in like a rainbow pattern, or depending on the style's home, you could use an acoustic tile on the stair risers. But it's another nice way of just elevating a home and elevating the design while still staying neutral in a sense. I did say bed heads. People use them for... Yeah, bed heads. I know it's a bit unique. Ceilings, I love it. Tilers are going to hate me even suggesting it, but I just think it's a really unique way, and I can't wait for my first client to allow me to put tiles on their ceiling.
Oh, nice. Ceilings in a bedroom. Ceilings
in a kitchen.
Yeah, but I'm wondering about a bed. What about a bedroom though? That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, reflective. I think above a pool table in a games room could be really cool, or in a bar. So behind bars are a really fun way, like, antique mirror tiles are really cool. Behind ovens, again, to kind of have that feature tile in the kitchen if everything else is quite neutral, rather than a stainless or just carrying the backsplash through. Often people also would mosaic or create really beautiful tiles and turn them into artwork, which I think is really unique and cool too. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Do you, the tile fair was just on in Chisai. Have you ever been over to any of the fairs overseas to check out the latest fashions? Or have you waited for them to arrive back in Australia? Yeah.
Oh, no, I think I need to make an excuse to start travelling again and visit some tile fairs.
Yeah, business trip.
Yeah, that's it. No.
I did that earlier this year, and it's paid off. But it's a lot of fun. I haven't been to Chisai yet. I was in Surfaces in Las Vegas earlier this year. One of our, with my day job, we had a number of our major brands there that we deal with in Spain and America, and they had stands there. It was the very first fair that I've gone over to, and it was worth it. I wouldn't do it every 12 months at the same place, but certainly Chisai is one of those places that I want to go. I'm hoping that next year my partner and I can head over there, do a bit of business for 3 or 4 days and then check out and just not do anything for the next week and a half. So
yeah, extended a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice.
Very cool. So before I go into the next question, one of the things that I have failed to ask that I'm very interested in, and we touched on this when we met at the home show, and you talked about disrupting the industry. And talk to me a little bit more about that. How does what you do differ from the mainstream? And I don't want to say mainstream because it's probably not the right word, but how does it differ from what other designers, interior designers are out there doing today?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Look, one of the things that I noticed when first starting to renovate is I had no counsel. I had no one to advise me and no one to bounce ideas off. My husband had worked in construction before and more of the contracts, budgeting stage, so he was great in taking care of things like that. But in terms of design, like we said earlier, what's the difference between a ceramic and a porcelain tile? I had no idea.
Yeah.
What is most suitable for my home? How high should I, put my GPOs on the wall? Should I let my builder pick my sink? There were so many mistakes that I made because I didn't have anybody to consult with. And what I realized is you can get an hourly consultation. A lot of firms do offer that, and it's very valuable. And I encourage anybody renovating to invest that small amount in an hour consultation. But we wanted something that was going to last a little bit longer and be that support throughout their renovation. So we came up with a concept and a service called Design Concierge. It's going really well, and I think those that are using it are really seeing the value in it. So basically, we support you from the get-go, so from the design stage all the way through to the completion of your project. And throughout that, we are your liaison for educating and also advising on the right products and how things work. And is your tile waterproofing, for instance? There will be, we word them up, and there will be a rough-in stage for plumbing and electrical. Be clear on where you want the positioning of things prior to having to make those, fire decisions on spot with the pressure of trades on the clock. So we come in before all of those potential mishaps and potential design disasters and just word them up. This is what's going to happen next. This is what we advise, put your tile, your waste under your wall hung vanity so you never have to stand on it. Little things like that impact the renovation so greatly as the end result, but it also gives the client this counsel and this liaison and advisory, and I can use another million adjectives because it's so valuable to have that support throughout the renovation. And we love being that. We love telling people what to do, advising them, supporting them, helping them avoid big mistakes. And I think one of the best parts of it as well is we get to push them a little bit creatively. We get to show, we do a big design consultation before as we kick off, basically, is the first thing we do. And I get to really understand their vision and where they want to go with the project. So when they might just want to choose a 300 by 600 white, we can kind of edge them into another area that's going to balance that out and create a focal point and be more interesting and get bang for your buck. You don't want to spend tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars and sit back and go, oh, I played it safe. I wish I had done that really cool tile around the fireplace, or I wish I put that pretty tile behind the niche, or that shower head's pretty low. Why didn't we think of that? So, that's where Design Concierge has come up with. Yeah. That's
really cool. And having that bespoke service is awesome, particularly when most people, unless you're in the industry, it's a little bit like, I don't know Sparky, how Sparkies do what Sparkies do, right? I have an idea on what it should look like or how it should operate, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's in accordance with the compliance regulations and guidelines around how it should be installed. I have seen many, many jobs that have not gone well in tiling around the country, and I've spoken to many clients that have been in the receiving end of getting that workmanship or receiving that workmanship, and it's never fun, and there's been many occasions where things like waterproofing aren't done in accordance with the guidelines. Tiling isn't done in accordance with the guidelines. Things are not placed in particular spots because it's just easier to put it there, So it's good that, that service that you offer is able to pinpoint all of those pain points so that they're being actioned accordingly and done, appropriately. Because there's nothing worse than getting a tiled anything and then in 6 months' time, you hear this knock on the wall and, a tile's drummy, or, you've got grout lifting out of a joint, or the lines on the walls, the grout lines on the walls and the floors don't join when they were meant to. So, look, it's...
something's just a little like,
and most people don't know what they don't know. So you can't be expected to go and look at the job afterwards and go, it could look beautiful, but how long is that beautiful going to last? But then, I get in trouble all the time because when I'm out and about, and if I go out somewhere and I start talking about tiles, like if I go to dinner somewhere and I go into a bathroom and I'll go back to the table and my girlfriend, my fiance will turn to me and she'll go, don't you go start talking about tiles. Because I have this habit because I'm just like, you just go, oh my God, I can't believe that. I was in Melbourne recently and there's I'm not going to mention the building. I went to a building that a mate of mine was living in for a while, and it breaks my heart actually. The building was completed last year or the year before, so it's relatively new. And it was a newer type style of building built in Melbourne, and they had 300 by 600 flamed bluestone in the foyer area, and the majority of it had the grout popping out, and there was picture framing. And I'm just like looking at this thing going, oh my God, like it looked horrible. Like the beautiful building. And then to learn that obviously they've it's super tragic because it's such an expensive install and a beautiful product when it's laid appropriately. But it was just looked like, look, and I don't want to cast any assumptions about what happened, but it just looked horrible. So whatever's happened in that process, whether it's budget or whether it's lack of knowledge or whatever, doesn't necessarily need to just be a residential home. It can be a project like that. It can just go horribly wrong really quickly. Yeah. And then that will potentially stay there for the lifetime of that building now. And it's just such an eyesore to such a beautiful building.
It's tragic, isn't it? Well, we're very similar, Mark. I can't help but constantly look at designs. I stay in a hotel and I'm meticulously like, and there's this distance here and there's this much space between this, and I like how they've done this sliding door and cool choice of colour, and now I know why they chose this funky carpet, and I love. My brain just works like that. My brain's just constantly on when it comes to design and really good workmanship as well. I just wanted to mention as well with Design Concierge, like builders absolutely love that because our brains are on all the time, because we are constantly thinking of design. We're taking that off the plate for the builder and we're really redirecting that to the client and helping them make all the decisions. Where in the past, and with, most often talk about disrupting the industry, most often it is the builder that is choosing the products and making the decisions for the client, where the focal points are, and how things are going to lay and sit and what grout colour they're going to choose. So it's been a really welcome service within the industry, which is great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, kudos to you. I love it. I have one final question before we get into our fast track questions, and then I'm going to let you go. But we can't go until we do the fast track questions because they're really cool and lots of fun. Can you provide me can you provide maybe myself or the community some tips for homeowners and or other designers on how to choose the right tiling design, I suppose, that complements the overall interior design vision? What are your best tips? Top tips. Don't give them all away because then you'll have competition really quickly. So,
look, I would say definitely have fun and trust your gut. Stay true to your vision. Make sure you have a very clear mood board, however you want to collate that, and then go back and reference it constantly, because any questions you have, it's all there. It's all already there. Do really unique things that might seem a little outrageous, like perhaps skirting, tiling the architraves. And
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. It has a nice impact. Blend tones. Get a colour wheel. That would be my hot tip for anybody that's renovating or doing a new tiling or bathroom or kitchen project that involves choosing lots of fixtures and finishes and colours and tiles. Get a colour wheel. They're like $5 on Amazon, and it'll help you stay in the family of colours. It'll give you a clear direction and kind of keep you on track.
Awesome. Great advice. I love it. And what I love most about today is we're talking all about tiling, not that there's not other components to interior design and exterior design. Yet the more we talk about tiling, it strengthens the business of tiling, and that's what we're all about. So that's awesome. So, Morgan, before we wrap up today, we have a theme on the show which is called Final Fast Track Questions. So I'm going to fire some questions at you, and hopefully you've got an answer for every single one of them. I'm sure you do. But don't be too nervous, because I always start with a fun one. On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
9.5.
Excellent. Love it. What do you think the world's going to look like in 5 years' time?
I think we're going to be more community orientated. I think we're going to be more collaborative, and I hope we're kinder.
Excellent. Love it. Me too. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
I would say for being grateful for whatever I have in my life.
Beautiful. Tell me
really
about...
Cool design.
Yes, yeah, that too. Yeah, absolutely. I have to be. Tell me about, I'm not going to preface this. Tell me about the 3 most influential people in your life and how have they impacted you?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a big one. Only 3. Okay, 3 most influential people in my life and how they've impacted me. I'd say my dad. Definitely. He was he's a go-getter. He's always thinking. He's just a born entrepreneur, and I have that in my blood because of him.
Awesome.
I would say there's somebody that's really influential in my life right now, a person called Erin Deering. She's really cool. She kind of shows me that abundance and possibility and working hard really pays off, and that's amazing. And then I'm also going to say my husband, because he is incredibly supporting, and that influences me a great deal. He teaches me all about love all the time, and that's really influential. And kindness. He is just the kindest human to everybody, and I want to be more like him in that way.
Awesome. Shout out to all 3 of those people. I don't know them, but you're amazing. Thank you. Morgan, you've been incredible today. One of the things that we obviously always do like to do is connect in our guests with the wider community, because that's really important, and it goes to strengthening the business of tiling. And as we all know, particularly post-COVID, that we can pretty much do anything anytime we want. I think that was probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned during COVID, is that we're all now so more better connected. I think that we are. How does someone reach out to you? What's the best way for someone to connect in and get a hold of you if they want to connect post show?
Yeah, well, look, if they have a smartphone and they've got Instagram, they can come and connect with us at Pearl Interiors AU. So we answer all our DMs. It's a nice, easy way to connect. Otherwise, you can visit our website, which is pearlinteriors.com.au. That's a great way of, you can shoot us an email. We've got all our contact information there, and we're really responsive.
Very cool. Awesome. And I will make sure that we put all of that information in the show notes so that people can get a hold of you when they're ready. So that's very cool. And again, thank you for agreeing to come on the show today and being a part of the show. And it's amazing to have, some different aspects to what we've been doing here for the past sort of 18 months with Tiling Connect, and bigger and better things in ahead of us, and that should be great as well. So again, and you know, and as we like to coin it in every episode, you know, until next time, stay connected, and thanks again for being here.
Thanks so much, Mark. It was tons of fun, and we love tiles. Tiles are great.
Yeah, we do. We all love tiles. Keep tiling, goddammit.
Keep tiling.
Thank you, Morgan.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Tiling Connect. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast. To see more of Tiling Connect, jump on our socials and follow us via LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook. If you'd like to be part of the show, email us at tilingconnect@gmail.com. Until next time, stay connected.